Okay, so we're going to read through chapter 4 of Job. The title in my Bible says Eliphaz, Job has sinned. And Eliphaz reproves Job. Verse 7, he shows that God's judgments are not for the righteous, but for the wicked. And verse 12, he shares his vision with Job. So we'll kind of go through and see what is exactly said. Verse 1, then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, if one attempts a word with you, will you become wary? But who can withhold himself from speaking? Surely you have instructed many, and you have strengthened weak hands. Your words have upheld him who was stumbling, and you have strengthened the feeble knees. But now it comes upon you, and you are weary. It touches you, and you are troubled. Verse 6, is not your reverence your confidence, and your integrity your ways of hope? So now we're at verse 7, where he's making the case that God's judgments are for the wicked. So verse 7, remember now, whoever perished being innocent, or where were the upright ever cut off? So remember, this is the poetry, so we're going to see very similar comments. Who has ever perished being innocent, and then restated, where were the upright ever cut off? So just similar thoughts, one after another, just like in when Job was speaking. Eliphaz is also speaking in poetry. Verse 8, even as I have seen those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. So it's just kind of a verse 8 there. Plow iniquity and sow trouble, reap the same. In other words, you reap what you sow. That's a common biblical colloquialism there. Verse 9, by the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his anger they are consumed. Speaking about the wicked, 10, the roaring of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, and the teeth of the young lions are broken. The old lion perishes for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. Okay, verse 12. So this is where his vision begins. So this is Eliphaz's vision. It goes like this. Now a word was secretly brought to me, and my ear received a whisper of it. In disquieting thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falls on men, fear came upon me and trembling, which made all my bones shake. So if you could imagine going to sleep or being in bed, and you see something, or he's having this vision, he's saying it's making him tremble. And it's making him shake. And in verse 15, we kind of see why. So in verse 15, it says, then a spirit passed before my face, and the hair on my body stood up. So if you could imagine going to sleep and either having a dream or seeing a vision, and if you've ever had a lucid dream where you kind of are half awake or partially asleep, however you want to say it, and you feel like you see something, so you're kind of, you think you're awake, but you're also still dreaming, so your mind is kind of mixing things up. What he is saying, he sees this spirit pass before his face. So that would make sense to me. You're in your home. I don't know much more about Eliphaz, like his family or who might have been in the house with him. But it might not even matter if somebody's there with you. If you see a spirit pass before you, it can cause some concern. It's not something you see every day. So he says when it did that, the hair on his body stood up. So he was frightened, it seemed. Verse 16, it stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. So this thing has come, it's stopped, and it's before him. A form was before my eyes. There was silence. Then I heard a voice saying, so now this is even more frightening to me. It's now speaking, this apparition here. Verse 17, can a mortal be more righteous than God? Can a man be more pure than his maker? Verse 18, if he puts no trust in his servants, so this is still this spirit talking, if he charges his angels with error, how much more those who dwell in the houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed before a moth. They are broken in pieces from morning till evening. They perish forever with no one regarding. Does not their own excellence go away? They die even without wisdom. So that ends chapter 4. So and that was the spirit talking. Now I think there's a couple different ways to look at this. That what was said is, can a mortal be more righteous than God? That's a rhetoric question. A rhetorical question. So, no. It's that you're asking the question. No, it can't. A mortal cannot be more righteous than God. God is righteous, and you just can't be. Can a man be more pure than his maker? No. The thing made is not going to be a better quality than the one who made it. And so you've got these two rhetorical questions, and you've got all these other lines that, where it's just, he's not putting trust in his servants. He's even charging angels with error. In other words, doesn't matter who you are, how excellent you are, how close you are to God. There are mistakes, and this is validating Eliphaz's point that Job has done something that's causing this judgment to come from God, even though that's not actually the case. He's just talking about the spirit is just kind of just how kind of worthless even the great things are. So in other words, making this point that Job is not so it comes to question what purpose did this spirit serve, and where did this spirit come from is a question that one might ask, because it could seem that this is an angel just kind of giving Eliphaz some insight into the situation. However, though those first two statements are true, and everything that's said seems to be true from a rational point of view, as far as these men knew about God and the world and everything, the information that was provided did not help Eliphaz to sympathize with Job very much. It did not help him to have compassion for Job. It did spark questions for him, and it did strengthen the narrative that he has in his mind, or maybe he didn't have before this, but he has now in his mind that Job has done something to deserve this. I spoke before on another chapter I read in Job earlier, that our brains are pattern seeking. So we want to kind of know, our brain wants to know how to keep us safe. And I think this is a common thing that happens when we notice someone else get in trouble. We start to automatically rationalize that they've done this. This wouldn't happen to me. It's happening to them because they chose the wrong people to be around. They weren't making good choices with what they had. And in Job's case, that wasn't that wasn't true. Job was doing the best he could out of everybody. I think there's other points in the Bible where God even, or the prophets point to Job and say, look, even if Job were here, based on his righteousness, he wouldn't save his children, only himself in this situation because of how bad things are. So Job is a very highly thought of man. And Eliphaz, because of this spirit that's talked to him, and once again, it doesn't say where that spirit's come from. I guess it's going to leave us question that was that an angel? Could this spirit have been Satan, or a devil or a demon to talk to him? It doesn't say. It just says what it says, and then we see that his position is strengthened and being able to question Job's righteousness, which casts some shade on Job's situation as to deserving this. And as we'll see, as this continues, this debate with Job continues, it just starts to create more and more of conflict between him and his friends, specifically Eliphaz, because they want to get to the bottom of it. They probably do care about their friend, and you see someone running head first into a brick wall, you want them to stop. And so from his perspective, Job's done something. He needs to stop. He needs to turn and repent, or change his mind, or do something to be in good favor with God, so this stuff can change. And they're just not considering the fact that Job didn't really do anything, and that something else is going on here. So anyway, that's chapter 4. We'll read chapter 5 next, obviously. So can't wait to read that with you. We'll see you next time.